Namaste friends, welcome you all for the biology session. In today's class we can discuss about the chapter human reproduction. So let us continue with part 2, and in this we are going to discuss about some questions. Along with that we can have some concept. So first, in this part 2, the question number 16 we can take. So generally, which of the following most likely root cause why menstruation is not taking place? So if you're going to take that, why there won't be a menstruation, the menstruation, or you can say that the menstrual cycle, that is menstruation. So in this we can say that generally if fertilization occurs, so whenever there will be fertilization, right, because of the fertilization, right, there won't be the menstrual cycle. So maintenance of trophical endometrium lining. So if there is a maintenance menstrual cycle, generally it may occur because thickness of the endometrium, and finally after some period, or you can say that the some phase, you can say that the first phase where you can say that the menstrual phase, and second phase which is we can say that the proliferation phase, and third phase the ovulation phase, and fourth phase luteal phase. So in this phase we can easily say that where exactly the endometrial lining will be maintained. So maintenance of high concentration of sex hormones in the blood, so it may leads to menstruation. Retention of well-developed corpus luteum, so that is where you can say that the well-developed concentration well-developed corpus luteum, and later it may be degenerate into corpus albicans, and finally it leads to, if fertilization occurs, right, if fertilization of ovum takes place, then we can expect that there won't be any menstruation. So answer for this is D. Right. So next question we can take. So this Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells are found in. So generally we know that what is the role of Sertoli cells. So whenever we are going to consider that, generally when there is presence of the Sertoli cells, right, in the presence of Sertoli cells, generally the spermatozoa are developing the spermatozoa which will going to get developed and attain maturity, that is developing spermatozoa, right, so which gets nourishment from the Sertoli cells. That is the role of Sertoli cells. So spermatozoa means which takes place generally in testis. So in this case we can say spermatozoa which develops into spermatid, right, spermatid which develops into spermatozoa, that is which attain maturity. So this spermatid also gets the nourishment, and finally which leads to the spermatozoa, and that spermatozoa which becomes when it attains maturity, that becomes the sperm. So this is what you can say. Sertoli cells are found in ovaries and secrete progesterone. No, that is not generally present in the female reproductive structure, or you can say primary sex organ. So in case of male primary sex organ, this can be seen. Adrenal cortex and secrete adrenaline. No, that is wrong. Seminiferous tubules provide nutrition to the germ cells. That is what one of the developing stage of the spermatozoa, or you can say that the sperm, right. So that is the answer. And next question we can have, that is Vasa Efferential, or the ductules, means ducts leading from. So from where this the efferentia will going to arise. So as we all know that generally these are the, we can say that the ducts, right, which are present in the male reproductive structure, that is in the testis, right. So if you consider that, as I've already mentioned, that whenever we're going to take that the structure of male reproductive system, there we have mentioned that there are different parts. In that we have mentioned that is the secondary the sex organs, where it includes accessory ducts and accessory glands. So Vasa Efferential which is accessory, what is it, the duct. So as we all know that generally when, what is it, the seminiferous tubules that opens into the vasa efferentia through rete testis. So if you consider this are the seminiferous tubules, and these tubules which will going to, what is it, the opens into the, what is it, rete testis, and there from the rete testis, right, there vasa efferentia which will going to open, and this vasa efferentia, that is through rete testis, that is seminiferous tubules through rete testis, that opens into the vasa efferentia, and that was vasa efferentia that opens into the epididymis, and that opens into the vas deferens. So seminiferous tubules opens into the rete testis into the vasa efferentia, into the, what is it, epididymis, and into epididymis into the vas deferens. So these are the, what is it, accessory ducts present in the male reproductive system. So here we can say answer for this is rete testis to vas deferens. So vasa efferentia is a ductule leading from, what is it, rete testis, and then epididymis into vas deferens, right? So that is what we can say, rete testis to vas deferens. So that is the B is the answer for this question. Next, the signal for parturition originate from. So as we all know that what is the meaning of parturition? So that is what giving birth to young one. So that is in the presence of hormone called oxytocin. So that is giving birth to young one. So this the process mainly because of, so we know that that is fetal ejection reflex, right, which will be going to take place with the help of, what is the hormone. Generally the oxytocin will be released because of this. So here we can say that the parturition is where you can say after completion of gestation period, where they are going to give birth to young ones. Rejection or expulsion is called as parturition. Ejection or expulsion of fetus, that is fully developed baby. So whenever we are going to say that placenta which induces a mild contraction of uterus, right, which you can say that the placenta through which it will going to induce a mild contraction of uterus, and that will going to give a signal called as, what is it, the fetal ejection reflex. So in case of this fetal ejection reflex, what is it, fetal ejection reflex, where we can expect that the signal for parturition, right, so that is originated from both from fully developed baby, and also, what is it, this fetal ejection reflex from placenta and also fully developed baby. So fully developed fetus, we can also say that fully developed baby. So signal for parturition originate from placenta as well as fully developed fetus. So that is B is the answer for this question. Next, a part of fallopian tube which is closest to the ovary. So that is, we have already mentioned that where you can say that the ovaries are present within the abdominal, the abdominal cavity. So if these ovaries which are present, they are, the oviduct or fallopian duct with fimbriae, and that is the part which opens into, right. So generally when this which is going to open into the, infundibulum. So infundibulum, and then that opens into the, the ampulla, and finally which opens into the isthmus. So isthmus that opens into the uterus. So this is what we can say that the structure of, or you can say that the part of the fallopian tube. So here answer for this is infundibulum. So answer for this is infundibulum. So next question we can take. So first part of the fallopian tube from the, the uterus, that is the fundus, or you can say that which opens into the uterus, from uterus towards the ovary, right. The first part is isthmus. From ovary towards, the uterus, right. So that is ovary which opens into the finger like projections called as fimbriae, and those fimbriae which opens into the infundibulum into the ampulla into the isthmus, and then that opens into the uterus. So that is the order of, or you can say pathway of the ovum. The correct sequence in development of, that is embryogenesis. So whenever we can say that the embryo development, as we all know that ectoderm, and you can say that the endoderm and mesoderm will going to develop, right? So that is the outermost ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm will be going to differentiate, and the inner cell mass which will be there in the embryo that develops into stem cells, and those cells with the potency to produce all type of cells, right? So that is generally we can say that the stem cells. So these stem cells with the totipotency, they have a capacity to produce all types of cells, tissues and organs through the process of differentiation. That is where we can say that organogenesis which is going to take place. Now let us take first, after fertilization, what happens generally, fertilization leads to development of the zygote, right? So fertilization and then zygote and cleavage, that is rapid mitotic division, right? So rapid mitotic division, but here is cells number, right? So cell number increases, and also along with that size, we can say it won't maintain equal size decreases. So we can say that the cleavage and mitotic division that leads to morula, right? That is, what is it, the 6 to 8 cell stage, and blastula 8 to 16, or you can say up to 32 cell stage blastula, that is through the process of blastulation. Morula to blastula, which is through the process of blastulation, right? And blastula to the gastrula, that is through the process of gastrulation. So gastrulation, where those germ layers will be produced. Gastrula means which will going to obtain, or this germ layers will going to develop. So answer for that is A. After cleavage, then only we can expect that morula to blastula to gastrula, and then these layers will undergo organogenesis. So organogenesis, and that they're going to produce organ differentiation. Next question we can have, that is the 22nd question. In which stage of development of the embryonic cells, the embryonic cells form germinal layers? So that is what germinal layers by movement, that is what we can say outer ectoderm, and then inner or middle mesoderm and inner endoderm which will going to produce, right? So that is what here we can say those layers which will be produced after the formation of the gastrula. This layer which will going to produce, right? So answer is C. Next, seminal vesicle is present at a junction of. So what is that seminal vesicle generally? That is, which is also the accessory ducts. Male accessory gland, not duct, male accessory gland. So this which will going to contribute majority of the seminal fluid, or you can say seminal plasma. So answer for this, we can say that where exactly it is present at the junction. So first, if you're going to, I've already given that structure which receives the vas difference, and that difference which opens into the urethra from both sides, right? And that forms ejaculatory duct. So these two when join to form a ejaculatory duct. So these ejaculatory ducts will going to join and form urethra, which opens generally into the penis. So here we can say that first you will get the prostrate, right, and the prostrate gland and bulbourethral gland. So prostrate, single prostrate, and two bulbourethral glands, paired bulbourethral glands. So seminal vesicle present at a junction of, right? So we can say that this is the vas difference, right, and this is the prostate. So in this case, present between the junction of vas difference and the prostate gland. So answer for this is B. So whenever we're going to say that junction, if they're going to ask prostate gland, that is present between the junction of the seminal vesicle and bulbourethral gland. This is seminal vesicle. And the question is where exactly this seminal vesicle, paired seminal vesicle on both sides, right? And here we can say this will going to receive and same like that, it will be one more here, right? So this is the answer. B is the answer. And this part we can say that bulbourethral gland. Bulbourethral gland. Right. The next question. Clitoris in mammal is. So generally we have mentioned that the clitoris is the genitalia, external genitalia. We can also say that in the the female reproductive system, the clitoris, if you consider that in the female reproductive system, which is homologous to the right, so which is homologous to the penis. So I've already mentioned that while explaining the structure of female reproductive system. So where we can say that the clitoris is actually, that is external genitalia. It is a finger-like structure, right? So that is present in the, generally you can say that at the upper junction of the two labia minora, right? So labia minora, that is homologous to the penis. So clitoris is generally, that is external genitalia. Clitoris is external genitalia, that is female external female external genitalia. So next, so maturation of sperm before penetration is called as. So generally we can say that before penetration means where you can say that before entering into the the ovum. So generally in this case we'll say that the capacitation. So capacitation, where it will going to attain the physical the maturation in the the epididymis and the functional maturity in the female reproductive system. So when it attains both physical and functional maturation, that is functional maturation within the female reproductive, that is in the uterus. So generally that is in the uterus, right, where we can say when it reaches from the uterus, it reaches the the ovum at the junction called as ampulla, right, that is in between ampullary isthmic junction or in the ampulla where fertilization takes place. So when sperm which reaches the ovum, before going to reach, it will going to get that functional maturity. So that is some chemical the molecules will be going to detach. You can say glycolipids of that head region of the sperm will going to the unbound from the head, and then that it makes the sperm to move and show motility easily. So that is what functional maturity, that is capacitation. So capacitation, so generally we can consider that which takes place in the female reproductive system. The next question, that is here we can say that the which of the following is an accessory reproductive gland in male mammals. So just now we discussed that. So prostate gland, the seminal vesicle, right, seminal vesicle and prostate, single the prostate, right, and then bulbourethral gland. Bulbourethral gland. So these are the the male accessory reproductive the glands, right. So that is prostate gland. So gastric gland is a digestive gland. Mushroom shaped gland, that is not. Inguinal gland, that is also wrong, right. And seminal plasma in humans rich in. So whenever we are going to consider that generally these the accessory ducts which will going to produce, so that is what seminal the fluid which is combined with when it receives the sperm, then it is called as semen. So seminal plasma which is produced by accessory glands. So seminal plasma, right, so that is the fluid which is produced from seminal vesicle, prostate gland along with bulbourethral gland, collectively called as semen. So here the seminal the plasma in humans are rich with fructose, calcium and certain enzymes, right. There will be certain enzymes. So that is where you can say that the in head part we can say where lysine will be there and that enzyme will be there, and hyaluronidase will be there, those enzymes will be there. Fructose, calcium, no enzymes will be present. Glucose, certain enzymes but no calcium. So calcium is very much required for motility. Fructose, certain enzymes and poor calcium, no. So that will going to maintain with fructose, calcium and certain enzymes. So and next question we can take, that is inhibition of the secretion of which of the following hormone is necessary for disintegration of corpus luteum. So to maintain that structure, generally inhibition of secretion of the following hormone is necessary for disintegration of the corpus luteum. So whenever the corpus luteum is there, right, that will be the structure is mainly maintained with the help of luteinizing hormone, and that will going to produce more progesterone. That will going to produce more progesterone. When more progesterone will be there, generally, so in this we can say that the progesterone hormone, which is primarily produced by corpus luteum of the ovary, right, but also that is produced by the placenta. So keep it in mind that progesterone is produced by, one is a corpus luteum, and also that is produced by placenta, produced by placenta. So this which will going to, the hormone level when it is increases, that makes the endometrium, that which helps in the thickness, endometrium thickness increases, right. Endometrium thickness will be maintained, right. That is what we can say, that it also helps in development of the endometrium for reception and nutrition to the embryo, which is going to receive the we can say that the blastula and give nourishment, and which is going to suppress the ovulation, right, and which is going to secrete. Generally, because of this, that LH will going to produce. So that LH by the pituitary, right? So LH by the pituitary will be produced. So this is what you have to keep in mind. So generally, the inhibition of secretion of which of the following hormone is necessary for disintegration of corpus luteum. So placenta, which maintains. So during pregnancy, the progesterone production will going to increase, right, by corpus continues. So till near term, when it will going to give birth to young one. If pregnancy has not occurred, if you consider that pregnancy has not occurred, generally the progesterone level, right, where you can say that both estrogen and progesterone suddenly fall, right. When if fertilization won't take place, this progesterone level which will be maintained by placenta, that will going to decrease. So when progesterone level which will going to decrease, that will going to disintegrate. What is that? Generally, that leads to disintegration of corpus luteum. That once again it leads to formation of corpus albicans, and finally we can also say that this thickness will be reduced, and that leads to menstruation. So menstrual flow starts. That is the and the uterine endometrium starts. What is it? Sloughing off. Sloughing off means thickness day by day. If this is a thickness, and this will going to keep on decreasing. So then finally thickness will be, and rupture will be takes place. So answer for this is the progesterone. So we can say that generally the progesterone level should be maintained, right, where actually if it won't maintain, disintegration of corpus luteum takes place. So if corpus luteum disintegrated, generally progesterone level further won't maintain, that leads to menstruation, right. So which hormone level reaches the peak during luteal phase? So this is one phase of the menstrual cycle, luteal phase. We know that generally which is menstrual phase, or you can say menstruation, and after that, right, 1 to 5 days, and some this 6 days to 13th day, 6 days to 13th day, that is a proliferation phase, right, and exactly on 14th day ovulatory phase, or you can say that the ovulation phase, and 14th, that is from 15th day to 28th day, that is the luteal phase. So that is what you have to keep in mind. So here the hormone level reaches the peak during luteal phase of the menstrual cycle. Which hormone? So that is what we can say, that the progesterone level which will be maintained. So among these which reaches the luteal phase. So if in the present luteal phase means where the corpus luteum structure will be maintained. So corpus luteum which will be retained, that definitely maintains the progesterone level, peak level. That confirms where thickness increases, thickness of the endometrium. So withdrawal of which of the following hormone is immediate cause for menstruation? So as we all know that generally, I have already mentioned, if no corpus luteum, right, generally placenta which is going to maintain that progesterone level, it is not very much, where it is not helpful to maintain the thickness. Corpus luteum is not there, and the progesterone level decreases. When the progesterone level decreases, generally we can say endometrium, thickness of the endometrium reduces. So answer for that is 47th B. So that is 30th question, that is B, right? So progesterone. Next question. Some important events in the human female reproductive cycle are given below. Arranged events in the proper sequence. So how that which will going to, what is it, generally the sequence will going to takes place. Which of the particular sequence in the female reproductive cycle? What is that? Generally the first cycle, that is where we can say that in the cycle, or it may be in this. So secretion of FSH. So when FSH will be there, the follicle stimulating hormone, that which will going to help in the development of the follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone, which helps to maintain the, what is it, development of follicles. Development of follicles, ovarian follicles. So that is secretion of, that is we can say that A. After that secretion, that leads to growth of the follicles, that is C. Sorry, here we can say first one is that is the secretion of A we can take, and then the growth of the follicle, development of the follicles, that is this is A and this is C, right? So C, and then after development of the follicle, right, so which leads to the formation of growth of, what is it, the corpus luteum. So here we can say this, generally secretion of FSH will be there and growth and development, right? After that we can say that the sudden increase in the LH. So D we can write, so A, C, and then sudden increase D, right? And one more option I'm going to add here. So E is ovulation. E is ovulation. So that is sudden increase in the level of LH, and that leads to E, that is ACDE. AC, that here we can interchange these two, right? So let me make this ACDE, right? So secretion of FSH and then growth of the follicle and sudden increase in the level of LH, that leads to ovulation and growth of the corpus luteum. So as we know that ruptured Graafian follicle which develops into corpus luteum. So ruptured Graafian follicle which develops into corpus luteum. So that is what ACDEB. ACDEB, finally growth of the corpus luteum. So ACDEB is answer. So that is where we can say that the secretion of FSH, right? So one is, that is secretion of FSH. In short form we can write FSH leads to development of the follicle, right? So development of the follicles, and development of the follicles which leads to, right, generally the increase in the level of, what is it, the LH, that is during increase in LH level. So increased LH level leads to ovulation, and ovulation finally leads to, what is it, the rupturing of a follicle, and then finally leads to corpus, or is it growth of the corpus luteum or formation of the corpus luteum. So these are the stages which takes place. That is why B is the answer. Vaginal orifice, urethral orifice, and clitoris are protected by. So these are, we can say that generally where we can see that the external genitalia, the orifice, vaginal orifice means opening of the vagina, and urethral orifice means what is it, the urinal, or you can say that the, which is separately open. In case of female, that is where the vaginal opening is different and urethral orifice is different, and that is protected by both are protected by, so that is vulva, right? So this is the answer. So next question we can take. So vulva, that is female external genitalia, we can also call it as. So menstrual cycle in normal adult woman, so every 28 days, generally it will take, so 28 or sometime 29, but every 28 days it will going to repeat, that is menstrual cycle. So parturition duct in female is called as. So what is that parturition? Where through which the child birth takes place. So that is through vagina, right? So that is cervical cavity, cervical canal, right, which opens into the vagina, right, and that which opens outside. So that is where you can say that through vagina, that is Generally, the parturition duct in female is called as vagina, right? Birth canal, we can say, right? Next, 35. In mammals, the female secondary, that is, or you can say that the accessory sexual character are developed by. So, in generally in mammal female, that is mammals, the female secondary sexual character. Male, that is, we know that androgen. In male, secondary sexual characters is maintained by androgen, and whereas in female, that is generally that which will going to maintained by, what is it? Secondary sexual characters, that is in the mammal, we know that generally that is estrogen, right? So estrogen which will be produced. Next question we can take, that is on fertilization egg nucleus with sperm, right? So on fertilization of egg nucleus with sperm, that which leads to the, generally we can say that first maturation is completed. No, that is not. Second maturation is completed, right? And embryo is formed. When fertilization of egg nucleus with a sperm, generally we can take that. So when this takes place, that finally leads to the formation of, right, embryo formation on fertilization of egg nucleus, right? So here we can take that as the answer, embryo which will be formed, right? Next, the embryo at 16 cell stage, is known as. So already I have mentioned that when the development takes place, so during the development of the embryo, 8 to 16 cell stage, we can say that the morula. Above that we can say that blastula, right? 8 to 16, that is morula is 16 cell stage. 16 cell stage, that is morula, right? Next, pregnancy begin with implantation. So pregnancy begins with the implantation of what? So when the endometrium, generally when the endometrium receives the blastula, so where we can say that when this embedment, right, attachment of what is it, the embryo which takes place, that is implantation of blastula, or we can also say that the blastocyst. In generally in mammals, that is in human being, so blastula with blastocele, that is called as blastocyst. So attachment of blastocyst with the endometrium is called as implantation. Answer is D. So the role of placenta is, so as we all know that it provide nourishment, or you can say that the nutrition for the developing embryo, and which also supply, or is it, the generally which helps in the transportation of respiratory gases and to remove waste, right, respiratory gases, and which also, what is it, they take, what is it, the waste from the developing embryo, and then that will be eliminated. So mainly here we can say that it acts as it provide a nutrition for development of the embryo. So nutrition for development of the embryo, right? So next question, placenta is a region where, so where we can say that the placenta, which is the connection, that is which establish a connection between mother and developing fetus, right? So where it receives, placenta is a region where fetus is supplied by maternal blood. Fetus is supplied by maternal blood. So fetus receives maternal blood, we can select this also, and embryo is attached to mother by umbilical cord. Embryo is attached through placenta and then into the umbilical cord. So this is we can't select. So fetus receives maternal blood and also nutrition. So here nutrition is not given. Nutrition, which is embryo is enclosed in a membrane, that is fetal membranes, so which are present. Right. So next question, cervix lies between. So as we already discussed that the structure where it, what is it, the cervix which is present or which is lies between, right? So in this we can say that generally the cervix part which is present next to the uterus. So if this is so if this part which is there, so generally this is the uterus part, right? So this is above which the top we can say body, and this is the uterus, right? And this part which is called as cervix, this part which is called as cervix, and this is called as cervical canal, or you can say that cavity, cervical canal, and that which opens into vagina. So here cervix which is present between the uterus and vagina, that is present between the uterus and vagina. So answer for this is B, right? That is uterus and vagina. Statement 1 and 2, right? Interstitial cell present in the region outside the seminiferous tubules. Interstitial cells which are also generally tubules present in the interstitial space. So if this is the seminiferous tubule, so this space, I can say that the connective tissue which is there, in this phase we can say specialized cells which are called as interstitial cells, which are also called as Leydig cells, right? So interstitial cells provide nutrition to the Sertoli cells. No, that is wrong. So second statement is wrong, whereas the first statement is right. So interstitial cells which are also called as Leydig cells, they are present between the seminiferous tubules, or the space is called as interstitial space. This statement is correct, whereas wrong, and the statement 1 is correct. So answer here we can take both statement. If both statement 1 and reason are true, the statement 2 is correct explanation. Now D we can select if statement 1 is true and reason is false. So this is correct, right? Statement 2 is false. So here we can say that interstitial cells present in the region outside the seminiferous tubule called interstitial space. Interstitial cells present outside the seminiferous tubule, actually that those cells, interstitial cells present outside the region of seminiferous tubule are called interstitial cells or Leydig cells. So ಎರಡು statement wrong, sorry. So both statement and reason are false. So answer for that is B. Both the statement 1 and 2 are wrong. The cells are called interstitial spaces allado cells anta karitive, right? Next, testicular lobules, right? So testicular lobules which have seminiferous tubules, 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules, right? Testicular lobules are the compartments present in testis. So that is where you can say this is correct. That is, we can say that the statement 1 is true, and these lobules are involved in the process of fertilization. So that is wrong. So these lobules which have a seminiferous tubules which helps in the development or which helps in the formation of sperm. So statement 1 is correct, right? Statement 2 is, the statement 1 is true, statement 2 is false. D is the answer. Next, head of sperm consists of acrosome and mitochondria. And statement 2, acrosome contains spiral row. Acrosome contains spiral row, that is of mitochondria. No, that is wrong. So if you consider this generally, in case of this sperm, as we know that there is a head, neck, and middle piece in which mitochondria is present, middle piece, and along with that is tail is present. So in head we can say that the acrosome, right, and nucleus is present. Acrosome and nucleus is present, and in the middle piece that is a row of, we can say, spiral spiral pattern, or I can say that generally we can say which contains a spiral row of mitochondria. In the middle piece we can see that is mitochondria which is present. So in head of sperm consists of acrosome is correct, but not mitochondria, that is wrong. Acrosome contains, acrosome it is actually this cap like structure, right? So that is the whole sperm which is covered by plasma membrane, but the nucleus, above nucleus, if you consider this is the diagram, so this is a nucleus, above nucleus is a cap like structure which is called as acrosome. This is called as acrosome. So that is the one we can take. So acrosome contains spiral row, that is not in acrosome, that is in middle piece, that is in middle piece, that spiral row of mitochondria is present. So here we can take that both 1 and statement 2 are wrong. So here we can say that statement 1 and 2 are false. So let us select this. Both statement 1, statement 2 are true. So no, wrong. Both statement 1 are true. Statement 2 is not correct, but wrong. Statement 1 and 2 both are false. So that is C is the correct answer for this question. So this is what you have to keep it in mind. So the structure of sperm head, which has generally that is a nucleus is covered by cap like structure called as acrosome. So that acrosome which has the enzyme called as lysin enzyme. So lysin enzyme, one is acrosin, other one is hyaluronidase. Those two enzymes present in the acrosome, one is acrosin lysin enzyme, other one is hyaluronidase. Hyaluronidase are the enzymes which are present in the this. So which of the following is wrongly matched? So whenever we're going to take this, generally Leydig cells testosterone. So definitely we can, that is male sex hormone produced by the interstitial cells. Spermatogenesis, which takes place within the seminiferous tubules. It's also correct. Male reproductive system present in the pelvis region. Right, whenever you're going to say that the male, both male and female present in the pelvic region, but testes are present outside the abdominal cavity. That is also correct. Spermatogonia, mitotic division. So in this case we can take that spermatogonia which will undergo meiotic division. That is where we can say the reductional division. So meiotic, that is meiosis. So this D is the wrong answer for this question. So testosterone, that is actually this is a principal androgen, that is primary, or you can say that male sex hormone. Next. So actually we have the point here. So where exactly we can arrange these things. So this is a parturition. Just I will write because it is get clubbed with a question. Select the parturition. So in this duration between pregnancy, that is this, in this we have the duration between pregnancy and birth. That is what we can say, pregnancy and birth, childbirth. So now let us take one is a parturition, that is a childbirth, A3. Right, so A3, here we can cancel this and we can select all this. Let us take next option, ovulation, where we can say that release of egg from the Graafian follicle. So B5. So this we can select in these two. Then gestation, that is a time period, that is what duration we can take, that is C1. So here we can select this, right, both we can select. Implantation, that is what we can say that the attachment of zygote to the endometrium, D2, here we can select. And E, that is a conception. So whenever we're going to take that the
conception, as we all know that when fertilization, that is getting conceived, where pregnancy maintained, so that is where formation of zygote by fusion of egg and sperm, that is conception. So conception means that is process of milk formation. This is fertilization. Right, here we don't have that option, and here conception means process of milk secretion. So E, what is that? Sixth one. So here we can select E, sixth one. Here E2, that is wrong. E5, this will be wrong, and C is the correct answer for this, right, where we can select next. So here the diagram, we have taken diagrammatic representation of the female reproductive system, and let us label that what is. These are the wall layer of the uterus. So outermost, which is called as, generally we already mentioned that there are three the wall layers, right? Here outer perimetrium, right, and middle myometrium, and inner endometrium. So endometrium, myometrium, and perimetrium. And here the first part from the uterus already given that is, we can say that the isthmus, right? So in this we can take isthmus, and E is ampulla, where exactly fertilization takes place, or we can say that junction in this region, ampullary isthmic junction, right? And then F is infundibulum. So now we can select the correct answer, and these are fimbriae, they are already given. So this, like this, we also get the male reproductive system. Let us select the correct answer. ABC, endometrium, myometrium we have, no, we can't select this. And then infundibulum, wrong. Endometrium, A, correct. B, myometrium. C, perimetrium, that is correct. Isthmus, ampulla, infundibulum. So C is the correct option for this. C is the correct option for this question. So here where we can say that the cervical canal and vagina that opens together, we can consider as, we can say that the birth canal, right? So this is the answer. Let us study the given figure, and below which various events of menstrual cycle given. So I already mentioned that where A represents, generally you can see that exactly in the A, which 15th day, that is ovulation. So ovulation, where pituitary hormones, which are, we can say that the LH and FSH. So this is LH, and here B, this is the ovarian activities which will be takes place, and these are the ovarian hormones. So ovarian hormones, which is generally at the peak level, that is estrogen. So both estrogen and LH will be at their peak level during ovulation. So this is the one. So A is, we can label it as LH, and B is, which we can say that the process during the here the hormone is, they have represented this activity, that is ovulation because of LH surge, right? And then C is menstruation period, menstruation phase, right? So that is where you can say that the menstruation phase. And D is, I already mentioned that the proliferative phase. What is that? Proliferative phase. And E is luteal phase. So let us select the correct answer, right? So A is LH, B is ovulation, menstruation. What is it? D is, that is proliferation. So let me make it complete. Proliferation. And D is luteal phase. So A is the correct answer. So A here FSH is wrong, estrogen wrong, progesterone is wrong. So this is what you have to keep it in mind. So these are, here we can say that the menstrual phases, there are, where we can say that the 4 phases we have, right, where different hormonal regulation will be there. And next, study the following statement and answer the question. During P phase of the menstrual cycle, if pregnancy does not happen, right, generally during P phase, where exactly we can, what's that, the expect that P phase, that is a pregnancy. So let us take that menstrual cycle. If does not happen, Q withers. Withers and dies means where you can say that the structure which will be formed. So here we can, Q can be, we can select it as a, what is it, corpus luteum we can expect, and that phase which is called as luteal phase. Luteal phase, right, and corpus luteum, if luteal, during luteal phase of menstrual cycle, if pregnancy does not happen, so corpus luteum withers and dies, usually around 20 to 28 days. That is what a 20 to 28 days, this phase is luteal phase. Drop in R level. So I have already mentioned that where the drop in, that if no corpus luteum is not maintained, we can expect no progesterone level. So drop in, what is the progesterone level will be there. When there is a drop in progesterone level, lining of the uterus, what is that, to fall away, right? It can't be able to maintain the thickness. This is known as S phase. So when thickness will be generally reduced, that leads to rupturing of the endometrium. That is what menstruation. What is that? Menstruation. S is menstruation. So let us level it. P luteal, corpus luteum, progesterone and menstruation. So answer is B for this question. B for this question. Let us take the last question. Study the statement and answer the question. Right. In a process called A, B division starts as a zygote moves through the C of the D towards the E. So in a process called, right, generally, so here we can say that B division start, what we can say, that is B division starts as a zygote move. So this division in the process of cleavage, correct, right, we can select division means where A is cleavage. In the process of cleavage, B division, what type of division it is? Mitotic division. Zygote undergo mitotic division. Start as the zygote moves through the, when it will move generally from, right, so when it will going to move implantation, that is a cleavage, mitotic division. Here they are given, sorry, this one we can select it as mitotic division, and that will move through, what is it, the isthmus of the D. Isthmus of the D means move through the isthmus of the oviduct, that is what Fallopian Tube, oviduct towards the E. E will be always, we can say that uterus, where exactly it will go into embedment, or you can say attachment of blastocyst with the endometrium. So answer is cleavage, mitotic division, isthmus, oviduct and uterus. So D is the answer. So here, so keep it in mind, cleavage, it is a type of mitotic division. It is not exactly the mitotic division. So rapid mitotic division, where the cell number increases but cell size decreases. Cell size, what is that, decreases. So this is what you have to keep it in mind. So with this we can conclude this chapter. Let us take next chapter in the next video. Thank you.